Wrestling fans, this is not a drill. John Cena has turned heel, and he didn't just flip the script. He's now aligned with the final boss himself. And this is not the intro, Matt Burns. I am totally reading the wrong thing already. And that's how we go on the Burning Truth Live. Hey, Scott Patterson, you're listening to the Burning Truth. And where the takes are hot and the mic checks are loud, especially when this guy's around. I'm joined by the man who's had more on-air meltdowns than CM Punk at a press conference. It's Matt Burns, everybody.
I absolutely love that. Getting an entire script written out and it just goes out the window. Screw it, we'll do it live.
We normally have that sort of pre-intro scripted and ready to go, don't we? And I don't know what I've done with my Matt Burns, but it is not on my screen. Literally, that's one from a video we did forever ago.
Yeah, I think that was from a few weeks ago. But anyway, that aside, as always, I've got to ask my most important question for me, especially on this day, especially on this special occasion with us being live and in living color for the first time for the Burning Truth podcast, which is Scott. How are you?
Oh, I'm okay, mate. I'm a bit annoyed that I've done that. I fluffed my bloody thing at the start. That's just sod's law, though, isn't it? Happy Mother's Day for all those mothers in the UK. I know our American friends celebrate Mother's Day on a different day, don't they? But for us, Mothering Sunday today. So I hope your mum had a good day, Matt Burns.
That she has. Mama Burns is all good.
Mama Burns, love Mama Burns. And then I suppose, this is the first time we've done the RSS podcast, the actual Burning Truth live on YouTube, which is pretty cool, right?
Yeah, this is the very first time we've actually done it with, as I said, in living color, because
living color.
It's only been audio whenever we've done it. So, I feel like I'm about to do a CM Punk and start crying.
Is it a little bit scary for you, Matt Burns?
It's scary, but at the same time, it's something I've been aiming for.
Oh, good. Well, here's some of the stuff I've got lined up for us. We've got Hulk Hogan's legendary George Foreman Grill. We've got Rey Fenix debuting on SmackDown. We've got Mandy Rose being erased from WWE history, in her own words. WWE is dropping a WrestleMania IX documentary, and TNA's creative is under new management. We're going to talk about spiked weapons in Buried Alive. I've got to name my top 3 WCW stars of 1995 later and do the top 3. You told me about that earlier on. And I've challenged you later in the episode to rebook Miro's AEW career. Miro, formerly known as Rusev.
Yeah.
So really excited about all that. It's not your average episode. I'm really looking forward to it. Episode 363 of The Burning Truth, Matt Burns.
And 363 is now going to be forever etched in history to be the first one where we are literally video.
Yeah, video podcast. Love it. With that being said, Matt Burns, shall we get into the news?
Let's get into the news.
So we'll do this slightly differently this week then, Matt Burns. I will start taking us through the news stories and then we can chat about them, right? So the first one I wanted to talk about, I did just talk about it briefly before. Hulk Hogan's George Foreman Grill story has been totally debunked. So Hogan has long claimed, and I've heard this story thousands of times, that he missed the opportunity to endorse the George Foreman Grill. It would have been the Hulk Hogan Grill. But because he missed a phone call, George Foreman got the deal. They had the same agent at the time, and they offered it to Hogan first. But recent statements from the grill's inventor, which was Michael Bowen, have shared legal representation, indicating that Foreman was the only celebrity that was approached for the endorsement. So saying that Hogan's, account of that is totally false. So a little bit of Hogan bull
a bit of Hogan Ball, a bit of Porky Pies, and everything else. But one thing I do know about this, and this is the interesting thing, Hogan actually tried to release something during that time, if I'm not mistaken, and it absolutely got trounced by the George Foreman Grill.
Yeah, so this was the blender, and I believe that the story, as Hogan says it, is that he was his agent, I think it was Barry Bloom at the time, had George Foreman on the books and Hulk Hogan. And what he did is he called Hogan to see which one of these products do you want, the blender or the grill. But apparently that's total rubbish, and that never happened. It was always the blender. Unlucky Hulk. It was always Foreman.
Well, unfortunately, you know, he's ended up being all in a twist, in a twirl, and not even being considered for the grill.
Not even being considered for the grill. What about this, Matt Beans? Rey Fenix WWE debut officially announced. So former AEW star Rey Fenix makes his in-ring debut on the upcoming episode of SmackDown this week. Promotional videos featuring the masked luchador have been airing throughout March, culminating in the announcement during SmackDown in London this week. Commentators Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett expressed enthusiasm, and they said that Rey Fenix will bring a high-flying style and a history of championship success to SmackDown's roster. What do we think about this?
Well, we've just mentioned that Hulk Hogan missed the call. Now, here's an individual who doesn't miss calls, Rey Fenix.
Yeah, nice.
Genuinely, I couldn't be more happier. And the fact is, yes, he does have a link to a certain Raw superstar in Penta, which, if I'm not, is one half of the Lucha Bros or Lucha Brothers. Genuinely, but I like the fact that they've actually got them on separate shows to allow them to showcase their individuality first before making them into a team. Now, for me, I think Rey Fenix is an absolute star in his own right, and as it says, bringing a high-flying style and history of championships, his history speaks for itself, but his high-flying style is very unique, and I will say, absolute talent, absolute.
Yeah, I'm really excited. This is the real-life brother of Penta.
Yes.
Yeah, not like a Kane and Undertaker brother or Edge and Christian brother. This is like a Hardy Boys brother. Well,
he's a lucha bro, so he's a lucha brother. So, can't get any deeper than that.
But are they real-life brothers? Is this an Edge and Christian situation? Is this a Dudley Boys situation? Or
would you like me to double check it? Would you like me to double check it for you right now?
I would like birth certificates if possible, please.
Right, one moment.
Really one moment. I just think that, WWE have, they're on a bit of a roll at the minute to bringing in quality luchadors. And they have done this in odds and spats before with the likes of Gran Metalik and Dragon Lee. We had the likes of Kalisto previously, Sin Cara. But it feels like they are pulling in some of the greatest Mexican talent currently in Penta, Rey Fenix, Rey Mysterio still on the roster. My favorite of the bunch, Al Grande Americano, certainly my favorite, the large coffee. So yeah, I think in a really good place. Have you managed to find the detail while I've been rambling on?
Yes. Yes. At the moment, we can't actually declare it because no one actually knows their real names.
I mean, cool.
But it does state that they are brothers.
Right, okay. Well,
it does state it.
We'll have to let you go there then. We'll have to say.
Oh, no. I've got it here right now. Yes, they are real-life brothers.
Real life brothers. There you go. You heard it on the Burning Truth first. An absolutely exclusive there. What about this one, Matt Burns? WWE to release a surprising new documentary. WWE is going to release this documentary titled Becoming a Spectacle, which will focus on WrestleMania IX, which took place at Caesar's Palace in 1993. The event's remembered for its unique Roman Colosseum theme. Who can forget Jim Ross in a toga? and unexpected moments such as Hulk Hogan winning the World Championship after Yokozuna defeats Bret Hart. The documentary will feature insights from superstars who participated in the event, including Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, and Bret Hart, and will be available on Peacock in the coming weeks. No word yet on how we'll be getting that in the UK. I imagine it will either go on to one of the WWE YouTube channels that are now available or straight onto Netflix. But I think really interesting news that we're getting a WrestleMania IX documentary. I can't imagine many people are asking for it, Matt Burns.
The only person I feel a bit sorry for in that documentary is probably going to be Taker.
Right, yeah, true.
because that match was awful.
Yeah, it wasn't great, was it?
It was awful. Ending with chloroform?
Yeah, absolutely.
But one thing, to be honest with you, if you wanted to leave that up, I could have just done a nice segue into it for you.
No, we'll get there, mate. I was just prepping for myself in a minute. Listen, we've already got things going wrong. It's the first time we've done this live on YouTube, and this is what's so good about going live. Sometimes it doesn't go perfectly well, but we learn as we go. And sometimes you read a pre-entry from about 6 weeks ago. But that's just what happens, right?
But then again, it's the nitty-gritty, and you've got to love it. You've got to love the human error, the human touch.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been good if I'd had some support in setting this up, Matt Burns, but there you go. Sometimes it's just left to me, and say, hey, big wink.
I'm gonna. How many episodes is there?
Yeah, 363, mate.
And I haven't missed one.
It's all right when you can just show up. That's what being the star of the show's all about, mate. Right, what about this one? So, ex-WWE star thinks they've been erased by the company. Former WWE superstar Mandy Rose has expressed feelings of being erased from the company's history. In a recent interview, Mandy Rose noted that she is seldom mentioned on WWE programming and questioned whether the company wants to distance itself from it. Despite this, she remains open to returning to wrestling if the circumstances align, emphasizing that she's not officially retired and would consider a comeback if it made sense. And now, before we go any further, the reason for this is that the commentary team on NXT have been calling Stephanie Vaquer the first ever double women's champion in NXT. And Mandy Rose is a bit upset about this because technically she was at one point the NXT women's and NXT UK women's champion.
Yeah.
She held both belts, so it counts.
It will count. The only difference is it's not the same brand, technically.
And it's not, that was a unification.
Yeah, it was a unification. Exactly. So when it's a unification, it goes two belts into one belt.
Yeah, exactly. So although I think she's just trying to keep herself relevant here.
Which is understandable.
Listen, I like Mandy Rose.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with her not being in wrestling currently. I don't miss her. And especially on NXT women's roster, which is currently the best women's roster in wrestling. Some fantastic characters there doing some amazing things each and every week. What more could you want?
The problem is, I think she's probably a little bit better at the moment that she's only mostly remembered for doing work with a certain, NXT
work was really strong though, from what I hear.
I was just about to say, so NXT work was absolutely phenomenal. But the only problem that you're going to have is if she did come back, she is instantly going to be compared to a current WWE Women's Champion already.
Absolutely.
It's not like it's the one that we've got a sort of offshoot T-shirt.
Yeah, and I suppose now would be a good time to talk to everyone about our brand new. Oh, this isn't it. It's Stiffy Time T-shirts. Let me get it up on the screen for us. How good would you look repping our It's Stiffy Time T-shirt? There it is. Look at that. It's beautiful. If seeing Tiffany Stratton gets you real tight downstairs, it's time to get yourself the It's Stiffy Time T-shirt. It's a little cheeky humour to your wardrobe, inspired by Tiffany Stratton's iconic catchphrase. We've given it a playful twist that's sure to turn heads and get a few laughs. Whether you're repping it at a wrestling show, kicking back and watching the burning truth, or causing a little mischief, this shirt is the perfect conversation starter. It's high quality print on soft, comfortable tee. It's available in multiple sizes, and it's guaranteed to make people do a double take. It's the It's Stiffy Time t-shirt, currently available on theburningtruthuk.com. Click on the merchandise button. There you go. How about that?
Love it.
Next piece of news we've got here, Matt Burns.
Yes.
SmackDown getting a new ring announcer.
Yes. Would you like me to say the name, or do you want to say it?
Feel free.
Mike Chinook.
Mike Chinook, yeah. Mark, I think, Chinook. Mike Chinook. Mark.
Oh, no, Mark. Apologies.
Oh, so you said you were going to do it right as well, and then you let yourself down, Matt Burns.
Well, hang on. It comes in threes. This is the third one. This is the third mistake we've made.
Take no more flubs tonight. Known for his work on Top Rank Boxing and as the in-arena host of the NHL's Las Vegas Golden Knights, has been announced as the new ring announcer for SmackDown after Lillian Garcia was, basically told that she wasn't needed full-time anymore. And she knew that was going to happen. She was brought in knowing that it wasn't going to last very long, and they needed her for a certain amount of time. They put her on Raw until the move over to Netflix. They then moved her to SmackDown until now. And she did a really great interview where she was really humbled about going back to WWE and wasn't expecting to get the call to go back this year. And now she's the permanent announcer for Saturday night's main event shows, which I think is absolutely perfect for her because she is nostalgia for me. And having her announcing Saturday night's main event is really cool because we can't have the think, right? God bless him. But he did have a hand in training Lillian Garcia and setting her up for success. So if anyone was going to be the permanent ring announcer for Saturday night's main event, really glad to see it's Lillian Garcia. How did you think Mark Chinook did on SmackDown this week?
I actually thought he was quite good at it, to be honest with you. There was no bumpy roads. It wasn't like we had to have anything coming up saying, that's not my name.
Yeah, he's actually going by the name Mark Nash in WWE. But yeah, I think this week he did a really good job at the O2 in London. And honestly, I agree with you. He was great. Was a new voice, though.
Yes, you definitely could tell it was a new voice, but I actually liked that. I could tell it was a new voice. It was like it was a breath, it was a breath of fresh air. So for me, it was really good. I hope, I hope Mark Nash continues to do outstanding work, and I believe he'll be making his own little mannerisms and putting his own little twists on things. I look forward to it.
I totally agree. Shall we talk about WWE or TNA next?
Which one do you want? Do you want? The question is, do you want the rant at the end or do you want the rant now?
So WWE has announced WrestleMania After Dark. WWE's partnered with Medium Rare to introduce WrestleMania After Dark, a series of events during WrestleMania 41 weekend at Fontainebleau, Las Vegas. Scheduled for April 17th to April 20th, the festivities will feature musical performances from artists like Metro Boomin, Machine Gun Kelly, along with appearances from WWE superstars including Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, and Rey Mysterio. Tickets and VIP experiences are available, offering fans an enhanced WrestleMania experience. And when I heard this, Matt Burns, I thought, this sounds a bit like the WrestleMania Rage Party.
It does sound like it, but the thing is, when I heard WrestleMania After Dark, I was like, do you know what I mean?
I was like, Sonny's coming back. No.
Sunny Days.
Yeah, Sonny's coming back. Ryan Shamrock's coming back.
Wow. Straight away into his but wow.
Listen, we're just here to enjoy ourselves. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, we've got to, but the thing is, it's for me, I think it's when I actually got into the details, I thought, I actually really like this because this is a way to make WrestleMania weekend, to make WrestleMania feel a bit more oomph.
Oomph. I like that. Make it feel a bit more oomph. Yeah, we like that. Okay, cool. Not much more to say about that other than, if you're there, great. If you're not, it means pretty much nothing, right? Yeah,
pretty much. But the thing is, it can make that could be an absolute epic moment for anyone who's going there. Could even be. Can you imagine that being your? Can you imagine that being if that was your first ever WWE live event, and you got
a weird one for it to be your first one, but yeah,
no.
absolutely.
I mean that WrestleMania.
Oh right, okay, not the After Dark.
No, I mean the
if you never went to wrestling, but you went to After Dark.
No,
I mean,
no, I mean all of it, the entire weekend experience.
Yeah,
can you imagine that straight away? And if I'm not mistaken, well, they've got the After Dark. They've also got the roast as well.
Yeah, there's some reports, that WrestleMania hasn't sold very well in Las Vegas, and there's still tickets that are as low as $450. Normally by this time we sold out WrestleMania, so I mean Vegas isn't a big hot wrestling town. We know this. There'll be a lot of staying over trade. It's a quiet time for the city, but Las Vegas.
As much as you can sit there and say that, but there is a lot of wrestling events that are happening in Vegas lately, because even some UK wrestling companies are actually over there, like Progress Wrestling. They're over there in Las Vegas.
I don't know how well they're selling, though. That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't know about that one. But the thing is, I still think it's going to be epic. It's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose our last piece of news then, Matt Burns, TNA names new head of creative after shock firings. So following the recent departures of several management figures, including Gail Kim, TNA Wrestling has appointed Hunter Johnson, formerly known as Delirious, as the new head of creative. Johnson previously served as the head of creative for Ring of Honor from 2010 until its acquisition by Tony Khan in 2022. His extensive experience is expected to bring a fresh perspective to TNA's creative direction. Now, before we go any further, Matt Burns, because I know you want to absolutely lose your shit on this, TNA is having its best run since the Main Event Mafia right now, right?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
They're just doing they sort of got a bit of nostalgia. They're bringing something a little bit new, something a bit crazy in, and they are seemingly growing numbers. But then the issue is right now is why they've been doing that. What I find a bit shocking is when they've been getting numbers back, there's now firings, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, wouldn't they be part of the good things that are coming back? Why, if something ain't broke, why are you trying to fix it? Sort of thing. But I will give credit where credit is due. The individual, it was Hunter Johnson. I've seen some of his work when he was fully in depth with ROH, and he was actually quite interesting. He did actually put a lot of good talent in, and he actually, and he was really good with working with talent. So I think he'll be a great I think he will be a good addition to TNA personally.
Yeah,
but at the loss of Gail Kim.
It's a really bizarre one for me because she's been absolutely crucial to TNA for more years than I can count.
This is an individual who, as Scott D'Amore was on his way out, literally said, do not lose this one, at all, because if you do, I will be picking her up myself, because she is an absolute wonderful talent, amazing, and bear in mind that at the time as he was going out the door, she technically wasn't going to be hired by TNA because they thought that she was too expensive and everything, and they couldn't afford it. Gail Kim was that dedicated to TNA. She took a pay cut so that they could afford her, for her to stay there and help make TNA be great again.
Unbelievable.
And new management's taken over and just gone, who's this? Oh, she's not making that much money. We'll just get rid of her. Bye.
Yeah, utterly ridiculous. I think we're all
What are you doing? You've just got rid of somebody who's just helped you reinvent TNA, and you're throwing her out the door.
Yeah.
this gives me almost the same why of when I heard that Scott D'Amore got let go.
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly how I feel about it.
Yeah, I feel like if anyone, if anyone ever gets this reference from an old kid show, from Nickelodeon, why?
Yeah, bit of Keenan and Kel, bit of orange soda.
Just why?
I mean, we can only guess what they're thinking, but it feels like a mistake, and it feels like really poor practice from the outside looking in, doesn't it?
Yeah, I feel as though that's the old adage of 2 steps forwards, 2 steps back.
Yeah,
that's definitely taking them a step back, definitely, because the progression that Gail Kim is more than likely put towards. And here's the thing: if anyone sits there saying, "Well, who's Gail Kim?" Well, last time I checked, when Gail Kim was in TNA wrestling against, Amazing Kong, Awesome Kong, or whatever she was at the time, they were actually putting a lot of butts in seats and actually making TNA stand out for excellent women's wrestling or knockouts wrestling, because she was actually being a top-notch front runner for that entire division, and that was in front of the camera. Then after she goes from in front of the camera to behind the scenes, she's then revolutionizing that entire side. And now, new management comes in and says, "Oh, we don't need you now, bye."
Not good, is it? Almost feels like something we should bury alive. But before we do that, I want to talk to you about 3 other t-shirt designs we've currently got over at theburningtruthuk.com. We've got 3 brand new shirts here that I'm really excited about. Let me talk to you about Don't Forget to Be Awesome, which is totally taken from Matt Byrne's iconic Don't Forget to Be Awesome DFTBA line. £15 currently on theburningtruthuk.com in a variety of colours and sizes, and will look good on absolutely anybody. Don't miss out on that one. We've also got the Excelsior 2 thumbs shirt. Remember, who's got 2 thumbs and is awesome and says Excelsior? This guy. And here he is, again, in a variety of colours that you can enjoy for £15 on theburningtruthuk.com/merchandise. And lastly, my favourite, you've seen our logo. Wherever you look for us, you've just got to look for the championship belt, always above us on the video. And this is The Champ is Here, the Burning Truth logo t-shirt, which is obviously inspired by John Cena's classic t-shirt design. And again, £15, you can get yours on the burningtruthuk.com. And if you are watching on YouTube live, then also let me ask you, please subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and we're absolutely desperate to get there. All you got to do is look at the link below. If you subscribe to the channel, we promise to give you the best content possible each and every week. And we go live most weeks, if not 2 or 3 times a week. Most weeks, we are pumping out the content, whether that's reactions, interviews, reviews, predictions, watch-alongs, and everything in between. We are pumping out the content for you. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, get over to YouTube. What are you waiting for? Find us on youtube.com/theburningtruth251 and enjoy your wrestling with us. But for now, Matt Burns, it's time for Burn Live.
Burn Live. Dearly beloved, we're gathered here today for Burn Alive.
Do you know what? I didn't think you were going to do it then. I was waiting, like, is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? I nearly did it because I was waiting.
Nah, I had to do it. I had to add the pause because it's like, breathe it in.
Yeah, great for the YouTube, terrible for the podcast apps. So if you're listening on the podcast and there was a big pause there with dead air, that was Matt Burns taking a really long breath. And don't forget, you can get over and watch us on the YouTube, youtube.com/The Burning Truth 251 to see our lovely faces while we talk about wrestling. Buried Alive. This is our Buried Alive segment, and it works a little bit similar to Room 101, which you may be familiar with. Basically, we take an idea, trope, storyline, character, or something we just don't like in the world of wrestling, and we have a debate of whether it should be buried alive for all time, never to see the light of death, the light of day again. Matt Burns. What a Freudian slip.
We're not making another t-shirt now, are we?
No. Never to see the light of death again. What are we debating whether we should bury alive tonight?
Right. I have a feel that this is going to fit in with something that's happened recently, especially on AEW.
Yeah.
We have Jon Moxley to remind us of this.
Jon Moxley.
Now, I know that everyone has their special weapons with their unique names. A big case in point would be Mick Foley with Barbie. Yeah. Now, Barbie is iconic. Yes, it's a simple concept. It's a baseball bat with barbed wire on it.
Yeah.
And yes, that could do some damage. It can rip, it can tear, and everything. But the difference is there's a limitation on how much damage is going to be done to you. Even so, there's still like a top window. Whereas the other two that we know of that are named, Spike and Janice.
Case in point, Spike.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, this one, Matt Burns. So I think, it is. Why do they deserve to be buried? I can think of a couple of reasons, right? So it feels a little bit overkill when everyone's using them, or when they're used too often. It's not special.
Yeah, at least with the Janice situation, they were smart enough to do it off screen.
Yeah, I do think it's a bit illogical, especially this one. So a 2x4 with nails should end the match, but somehow it wasn't the finish.
No, it wasn't the finish. And on top of that, them nails did not look clean. And, me personally, I think a certain Botchamania had it right. Diddly-dee, that will require a tetanus shot.
Yeah. Does it become unbelievable?
I understand you can bring realism, but the issue is, and this is the thing, Mick Foley, a lot of people always bring back the whole Hell in a Cell situation, right? And when he did that, he massively raised the bar to an extent where if they want to go higher, it could have ended up with someone being pretty much brutalized or near death or worse. Literally ended up on probably, well, think about it. What's the name of this segment? They'd literally be that. They need to be, the difference is they just changed that from alive to unalived.
Yeah, I just think there, Matt Burns, where on the other channel, somebody's finisher is an elbow drop where they've run the ropes twice. How does this not finish a match?
Exactly. That's my point with it. That would be a match ender, but at the same time, why would anybody put themselves through something like this? And a case in point, RVD brought it up recently, and this might even be considered news and everything. RVD even took a shot at the whole situation, saying it's stupid, it's ridiculous, and he did. Me personally, I think it is. It's dangerous because the weird thing about it is a lot of people are giving RVD flack over it now, but me personally, I think RVD is right. If you look at RVD's history, he isn't going around swinging barbed wire, barbed wire bats or bats with nails in it. Yes, he was in ECW and had a steel chair and probably a table to crack, do a frog splash on somebody through. But he wasn't one of the extremists, if you got what I mean. Now, look at this. Stairway to Janice. Does that look safe to you?
I mean, no, but I am going to hit you with some counterpoints here because I'm just here to play devil's advocate as well. Okay. Isn't hardcore wrestling supposed to be over the top?
There is a bit of a difference. Hardcore wrestling is meant to be over the top, but even some other hardcore wrestlers do have a limitation on how much actual physical damage you've got. At least with this situation, with the difference with Janice and Spike, at least if you look at Janice, it doesn't look as rusted, and the spikes don't look to actually be as long as what Spike has got, where Spike's got something that can go really deep into the body and probably puncture a vital organ, if that makes any sense.
So do we think there's a difference between cartoony nonsense and creative violence? Because I would maybe call these creative violence, no?
You can have a level of creativity and everything, but the problem is, I've got nothing against hardcore wrestling whatsoever. My pet peeve with this, with the fact of it being nails and everything, you have no real safety line. Because if someone swings at you at full pelt, or you're being slammed onto it, you don't know how far that puncture is going to actually go into you. And that's the concern.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just the safety of it. So that's where I feel, weapons like Janice and Spike need to be buried alive. But weapons like Barbie, yes, they could say it can rip and tear and everything. But if you fall on Barbie, you're not going to have something sticking into a vital organ. Yes, it might take a chunk of your skin off and everything, but it's not going to
be skin.
What? It's only going to be skin.
It's only ever going to be skin, yeah.
Yeah, it's only going to be skin deep.
What's the verdict then, Matt Burns?
Me personally, I think this should be buried alive.
To the pit with the spikes. Janice, Spike, you've had your 15 minutes. Now you're dead weight in the toolbox of wrestling, and it's time to bury them alive. And that, Matt Burns, was buried alive.
That it was.
I enjoyed that. I don't know what we do next. What do we normally do next?
Really? You don't know what we do next? It's Do the top three! Gotta love that. Gotta love that. Yeah, top three. I absolutely love this segment because we get to show our individual personalities and show, and it does, and it really does, because we challenge each other to showcase what our top threes are of a chosen subject. And as we already probably mentioned earlier, for this week, I want to hear Scott's top three WCW workhorses from 1995.
Yeah, and we know the reason we're doing this, Matt Burns, is because I've started a series on YouTube on the channel of WCW Monday Nitro watch-alongs from the first ever Monday Nitro. If you go along to our YouTube page, The Burning Truth 251, make sure you subscribe below. I'm watching WCW from the very beginning of Nitro to just see what's happening. It's a first-time watch for me. I know things that have happened, but I'm not completely an expert in WCW. So it's been interesting so far watching the episodes and figuring out what's going on and what the lay of the land is. We're currently waiting for Fall Brawl War Games 95 to go on to YouTube so I can carry on the series. But if you enjoy WCW and you want to watch along with me, make sure you subscribe to the Burning Truth YouTube channel, and you can do that with me. But Matt Burns, the question was, who are my favorite my top 3 workhorses from WCW from 1995. And I had to think long and hard about this because 1995 is a really interesting year. Because I could have picked names like Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit. The issue, though, is that they didn't join WCW until well into the year, almost the end of 1995. And so they weren't really workhorses for that year. Now, if you'd asked me who were the workhorses for 1996, I would definitely have pulled out some of the big cruiserweight names. But for 1995, it is a much more difficult question. And it actually led me to do a bit of research and go back and watch a few more of the classics that are currently on the new WCW YouTube channel in the UK. Now, if we're in the US, I imagine you've still got a lot of this stuff on Peacock. But for us on Netflix, we don't currently have a lot of the old WCW footage. So we're relying on this WCW YouTube channel, and stuff is going on there in bits and bobs. Maybe not quick enough for what we're looking for our purposes, but certainly there's more content on there right now than you can shake a stick at. But I went back and had a look, and I suppose 3 names really jumped out at me. And I already had 2 of them in mind, but actually the more research I did, the third one really made sense as well. And the third one's the one who I'm popping at number 3, and that is Lord Steven Regal. So Regal at this time, he was the epitome of technical precision in 1995. He was defending the television championship, working mid-card feuds. He was bringing a unique European style that we all really love. And it really stood out on the roster, actually. Every match was a clinic in storytelling, holds and psychology. He was elevating younger talent, delivering consistently, loads of strong performances, especially on WCW Saturday Night, which is where I went back and watched a few episodes and absolutely could see that happening. And he did quite a lot of wrestling on Worldwide, if you go back and check the stats for that time as well. So number 3 for me had to be Lord Steven Regal. Obviously went on to WWE fame, William Regal, and had a great career over there as well. But yeah, number 3 for me for 1995 was Lord Steven Regal. Number 2, any ideas? Any guesses before I go any further?
Number two. Mid-card.
Yeah. Well, workhorse was the question.
Yeah, workhorse.
I'll tell you, I went with the young German sensation that burst onto the scene with energy, athleticism, and an eagerness to improve. It was Alex Wright in 1995. He was very green at this time, but he worked hard week in and week out, often against the veterans on the roster like Regal, Arn Anderson, and he never looked out of place, Matt Burns. That's what I found really impressive about him, especially I watched an episode of Nitro with him on. He was pardon?
Big shocker right now. I was just thinking to myself, was he in the mid-card right then? I almost said it myself. I wish I would just pulled the trigger.
Yeah, a totally reliable fixture on TV at this point, and he gave fans high-flying spark on their undercard. So yeah, number 2 for me, top 3. Number 2, Alex Wright. So number 3, Lord Steven Regal. Number 2, Alex Wright. And number 1, Matt Burns. And this may surprise you, it may not, but in 1995, there's only one answer to this question, and it's Flying Brian Pillman. A hybrid of speed, agility, and intensity. In 1995, Pillman straddled the line between tag team and singles competition, always giving 100%. Matches were fast-paced. When Nitro kicked off, really exciting match with Jushin Thunder Liger to start. The first match ever on Nitro, Pillman versus Jushin Thunder Liger.
Not sad.
Pardon?
Not sad. He was an absolute standout. He was unbelievable, total package, and genuinely absolutely phenomenal work. And got him against Jushin Thunder Liger straight away.
Yeah, and he did a bit of teaming this year with Arn Anderson as well. He faced loads of cruiserweights, mid-card, in underrated gems throughout the year. He was also just beginning to show hints of that edgier character work that we got in his later career. But yeah, this time, Brian Pillman, definitely the workhorse of WCW, I think, for 1995. So my top 3 for this were Lord Steven Regal, Alex Wright, and Brian Pillman. They're my top 3. And I suppose if you disagree or you have different thoughts, please whack them in the comments below. Let us know who your top 3 WCW workhorses were in 1995. We're really interested, so please let us know.
Honestly, I can't think of a better top 3 for that. I think you nailed it.
It would have been easy to go Sting. It would have been easy to go Macho Man Randy Savage, Ric Flair, Arn Anderson. But actually, those 3 for me, after going back and watching it, I see those three certainly, and that is the top three, Matt Baines. What's yours?
Mine. No, I think you actually, ironically, hit all three of mine.
Good stuff. I think it's time to go to Rebook This.
That it is.
That's a new graphic, that is. Chef's kiss. Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? Very nice. Rebook This. So Rebook This is where we challenge each other to rebook something from wrestling history. And this basically because we're smart horses and we think we can do it better. And this week, I've challenged Matt Baines to rebook and tell the story of Rusev, who later was known as Miro in AEW, to rebook Miro's AEW run. I'm going to mute my mic for this, Matt Baines, because I want you to tell me the story of Miro.
Dead easy right now for me. The weird thing about it is there's a name that was actually mentioned in the previous segments. Just going to add a little. There'll be something a little bit added to it, just to point out. But anyway, I digress. Miro, his debut in AEW, the original scheduled was him being linked with Kip Sabian and being the best man. That out the window. Ain't happening. Not having it. How to actually bring in Miro. But more importantly, would Miro be coming in alone? Or would he be... Or should I say, this isn't just going to be about Miro. This is also going to include somebody else. But we digress. Instead of it being Miro's beginning, starting with Miro, debuting, instead, why don't we have somebody else make an appearance? Just casually walking onto the stage and observing matches, scouting for talent, being interested if they want their managerial services, which will be none other than CJ Perry. She'll be literally going through scouting long and hard, going through other matches, picking certain individuals. And then all of a sudden, you'll notice that she keeps coming out to one individual's matches. None other than Brian Pillman Jr. He seems to be, getting some names. He could even be getting, losing matches because he's distracted by CJ Perry. Regardless of it, he has somehow caught the eye of CJ Perry. So at this moment in time, it's looking like all of a sudden she eventually approaches Brian Pillman Jr. and says, "We need to make this official. Let's have a contract signing. So it's going to have to happen. We need to make this happen. And why don't we do it on an episode of Dynamite?" So they're all out there. Bigger, massive champagnes and everything, balloons and everything, all out there. And, CJ comes out, he's got a contract, and calls out Brian Pillman Jr., who is coming out absolutely overjoyed, ecstatic that he's about to get, the managerial services of CJ Perry. And could you blame him? It'd be a great asset to have CJ Perry managing you. And we know that. But Pillman Jr. is that overjoyed. He signs that contract without battering an eyelid. But how many times have we seen someone sign a contract blindly without reading the fine print and it ending well? So it's all champagne celebrations and everything. It's all joys and everything. And Brian Pillman grabs the mic and literally starts cutting a promo stating how overjoyed he is to have acquired the managerial services of CJ Perry and everything, for only CJ Perry to start laughing uncontrollably almost like it's some sort of bad joke that she's going to be managing him or something. You know, it's like, what's going on? Is this real? What's going on? For CJ Perry to take the mark off him and just go, hang on. You thought all this time I was out here scouting you to be your manager, to offer you my managerial services. Oh dear, my boy, you've made a grave mistake. What I have been doing is coming out scouting individuals to sign a contract to go against, in one-on-one action next week on Dynamite against her top client, her main man, her husband, the Redeemer, Miro. Cue Miro's entrance, who comes out with the Redeemer gimmick. He looks absolutely livid at Brian, and he pretty much just storms to the ring, and before even Brian even has a chance to even move, he gets absolutely decimated, and sits there and grabs the mic and just goes, "How dare you think my wife is going to be offering her managerial services over me? Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Well, next week you're going to find out why I am called the Redeemer." Pretty much, and then celebrates with CJ Perry, especially with the fact that he's now acquired his debut match, and he can now officially reveal he is All Elite. So we now move on to the following week, to Dynamite, and as you're probably expecting, how does that match go for Brian Pillman? Oh dear, does not go well. The former Rusev, Miro, absolutely decimates Brian Pillman Jr. He is knocking him from pillar to post. There is certain glimpses of Brian trying his best to come out of it. Even Brian Pillman's, I believe, varsity tag team partners try and come out. Miro just bats him off, pretty much just gets rid of him and just goes, no, I'm not done. We are talking here as he's slamming him, he's picking up, he goes, no, I'm not done with you. And the move that he used to end with, that he called, was the game over. For this one, we're going to rename it to avoid any gaming references. And for me, I would have called it the Unworthy, because anybody who's locked into this and taps out and loses to it, they are unworthy to being in the presence of Miro and CJ Perry. He locks it in, and Brian has to tap out. It's too much. And Miro literally stands tall over him, but just when you think he's going to walk away, he doesn't. He beats down on him again. He literally puts the Unworthy on him again. Pretty much Brian is tapping. He's in. Miro's not listening. The referees try and pull him off, to the point where even Brian is literally passing out. It gets to the point where, right now, help has to come out, and the person who comes out is none other than Darby Allin, coming in to make the save. Pretty much blast Miro with the skateboard. Pretty much Miro, goes forward, almost goes out the ring. And, you start thinking he's sitting there upset. But then as he's upset, as soon as he turns around and sees it's Darby Allin, you see him get that bit of a grin on his face, because he quickly realizes Darby Allin, who during this time is the TNT champion. So by literally beating up Brian Pillman Jr. and pummeling him, punishing him, he's smirking because he's just been given a bit of a golden goose right there. He's been given the opportunity to go toe-to-toe with Darby Allin. And right now he's like sitting there going, I'll back away for now. I'll back away. And then each week we have moments of, Miro trying to play mind games with Darby Allin, getting involved, costing him tag matches or individuals, or he's sitting there saying, take me on, show me why you are worthy of that championship. Come on, if you are worthy of that championship, you will beat me. You should be able to beat me. You're not. You're unworthy of that championship. And eventually, Darby Allin just goes, you know what? I'm sick to death of your bullying tirade. Fine. We'll do this at Revolution. They set up the match between Miro and Darby Allin. And it looks like the high risk of Darby Allin could throw off Miro off his game. But that doesn't happen. He gets some advantage at times, but the fact is, Miro plays a smart game. He knows that Darby's going to put on the high risk and cost himself, literally diving off the back, attempting his coffin drop. And as he does, he's think about it, where's he landing? Back first on anything. He goes for attempt the coffin drop on the edge of the ring on Miro. Miro just moves out the way. Darby just hits that edge of that ring, and he's screaming out in pain on the floor. And just when most of his opponents are like, no, we'll leave him out there, get the count out when, Miro doesn't hesitate, runs out, grabs Darby, throws him into the ring, and locks the unworthy on him. And Darby, being that much of a fighting champion, passes out completely from it. And Miro becomes the new TNT champion, decreeing that he is the only worthy champion. He's the only one for this. He is, if I'm not mistaken, I believe during that time when he was the TNT champion, he had another nickname, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm just trying to find that nickname now, which is he called himself the God Champion. Now, right now, I think that's a fitting name because he sits there and thinks that his God deemed him worthy enough that basically it was almost like fate that, the God created this fate just for Miro, and he's going to run with it. So right now he's going from pillar to post, knocking out champions or challenges left, right, and center. Now, in the original plan of AEW, we had Sammy Guevara taking the belt off him. We're not having that happen. We're having Rusev pretty much destroying even Sammy Guevara right now. And for me, I think, he is standing tall on the prep, pretty much standing tall over many challenges. And we now have to get the ultimate challenger, which is none other than the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. And right now there, I believe that is a good time for me personally to end this right now, because I feel as though the whole situation between Miro and Cody would be epic.
Yeah, I love that, mate. I love that. I think, I'm a bit. Oh, you know what that is, don't you?
What?
Banger alert. Absolutely. Yeah, really enjoyed that, mate. Loads better than the original version of Miro's booking in AEW. I think he wasted him, and I think that's a much smarter way to go. I really like that he was a more dominant force. I really like that then he motored through Darby Allin, and that he was on course to go head to head with the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. I think that's a really smart booking decision, and would have been a great feud for AEW that they didn't get because he was a bit wasted, really, wasn't he? But I think that's a really smart place to leave it as well, only because Always leave them wanting more, Matt Burns. Always leave them wanting more. And because it's an incomplete booking, I don't know if I can give a complete ranking, but I will. I'll give you out of 5 bangers because that's how we always rate on the Burning Truth. I'll give you banger after banger after banger after banger after banger. And I'm giving you 5 bangers for that, Matt Burns, only because it's so much better than the original. It's 500% better than the original. And that's what we're looking for on Rebook This. That's the whole point.
That is the whole point of Rebook This. And genuinely, I knew when you told me I had this, you knew straight away. You saw that grin on my face, didn't you? When you first
you would enjoy yourself. And that came across in the rebook, actually, that you were genuinely enjoying rebooking this one.
Yeah. It's one that I feel as though Miro deserved, but a lot of people sit there and say, some people can sit there and say, what did I do differently? Well, straight away, I got rid of the whole, best man gimmick.
Yeah.
He's got no ties with Kip Sabian.
Yeah.
And I know he's a gamer and everything, but the whole gaming genre thing didn't go well with him.
No,
I feel as though if he's going to be the redeemer, his finisher shouldn't be the game over. And that's why I thought to myself, renaming it into The Unworthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the best way to reboot Zangief in AEW. I think that's totally...
Zangief.
Do you not think he looks like Zangief from Street Fighter? He totally does.
I absolutely love it.
It definitely looks like Zangief. That's exactly what he looks like. So, yeah, that was Reboot This. Well done, Matt.
I will say that breath of fresh air is an understatement. For me, that Rebook This feels more than just a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it was good. Really, really good. Take us home, Matt Burns.
If I'm not mistaken, that was also my first 5 banger.
First 5 bangers live.
My first one.
That's how you do it. You get it live.
And it's live. But now this is an important episode, and right now that is a live wrap on episode 363 of the Burning. No, I'll repeat it. A live wrap of episode 363 of the Burning Truth. Hulk Hogan's Grill Feb torched. Rey Fenix soaring into SmackDown, and Miro officially rebooked with gold on his shoulder and 5 bangers.
Yeah, 5 bangers. If you've had fun, and you know you did, smash that like button, subscribe, and leave us a review. Your support keeps the flame alive and growing stronger with each and every week that we do this podcast.
We are charging forward towards 1,000 YouTube subscribers, and you can help us hit that milestone. Like, share, and tag us whenever you talk wrestling. We are building a community of passionate fans.
Yeah, and follow us across all the platforms: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and on X and Blue Sky, TBT Live UK. But if you just type in The Burning Truth and look for the title belts, that's all you've got to do. Look for the title belts, and we'll be there. You can also check out theburningtruthuk.com for exclusive content, breaking news, and the merchandise and t-shirts that we've been talking about. It's Stiffy time.
Of course, but until next time, stay passionate, stay fired up, and remember, DFTBA. And in case you don't know what that means, don't forget to be awesome!
Excelsior!